Welcome to the show, everyone, and happy Monday. I should say that too. We are live on Facebook, so I do want to say hi to everybody out there. Like us and follow us. My first guest has been on with me now 5 years this month. I am so thankful, especially you've also been a sponsor. Thank you for being here. I have with me Anna Von Straussenburg. She's the owner of Anna Von Straussenberg CPA. You know, you're all about honesty, integrity. Excellence and integrity is what you're all about. And I want you to tell everybody a little bit about yourself and what you do. And then I'm going to say some words if it's okay. Go ahead.
Okay, well, thank you, Carol. As always, it's a delight to be on the show. Well, I got to tell you, I kind of call myself a backdoor accountant because accounting was my second career. I wanted to become a teacher, and I kind of did that at a private school for a while. But then my husband said to me one day, he goes, you know what, I think you really need to change that job. You just come home so unhappy. And he said, you've got to go into business because you do our family budget on a spreadsheet. And this is 1990, long before Excel. And this is Lotus Up 123 that I used because I'd taken a computer course because PCs were just the newest, greatest thing at the time. And so I went and got a job at an accounting firm and started off as a receptionist and decided to go back to college and get my accounting courses that I needed to take the CPA exam. So that's why I didn't get a degree in accounting, but I took all the same courses that you would have to get the degree in accounting and qualified to sit for the CPA exam and took it in California and passed. And then I moved to Arizona and I got a job at a wonderful accounting firm. And the owner was getting ready to retire after I'd been there for a few years. And he said, well, you know, my son's a CPA, but he hates accounting. So he said, why don't you take over my business when I retire? So that's what I did.
That's truly a compliment.
Yeah. So anyway.
I'm going to talk about you for just a minute, okay?
Okay.
For when it comes to excellence and integrity, you're going to have her picture in the dictionary. That's number one. You care about your clients so much they become family to you. And I know that firsthand with some of the people that my family even work with you. But also when you like certain things that not everybody would take on. First of all, you like complicated returns.
Yes, I do. I was fortunate to have experience with a company that was a client that was growing all over the United States. And as they grew and moved their business to different states, I was able to learn other state taxes. And lovely for me, it was gradual. And so it didn't happen overnight. They started with, I think, 3 or 4 states, and then at one point they were in 20 different states, and between the state and city returns, I think one year I sent them like 36 different documents that had to either be signed or filed or something had to be done with them. And the list was immense, and it was a really great opportunity for me and for them that we worked together. I worked together until the owners of that company decided to retire. And so they sold it off, and once it was sold, the bigger corporation that bought them out moved on. But that's the kind of thing that I've really grown to love.
You also guarantee your work.
Oh, yes. I stand by my work. If we make a mistake and we have to correct it, we will correct it free of charge. We will pay for any penalties because, after all, we are human and mistakes do happen. And,
very little, though, with her.
And taxes are extremely complicated.
Yeah, especially now. And we're going to talk about that because guess what? If you think it's the holidays, yeah, they are, but it's really tax season, and it's being by preparing for tax season. Now, you wanted to talk about the one big, beautiful bill and the new things that are on it.
Yes, well, there are all kinds of things, and they all have some caveats with them. Like there is
of course,
the tip deduction, but the main word is qualified, and those must be tips that are shown on your W-2, because we all know that there are people out there who get tips and, well, they don't always tell their employers about them all, and they don't always all get onto the W-2. So that's one caveat. The other caveat is the tips must be voluntary. So, well, what does that mean? Well, you know, there's those times when you're in a big group and they charge you a flat 18% tip, and well, that's not a voluntary tip. Now, if the person tips over and above that, that is, but you know, it's a great thing that the employers are gonna have to watch out for, or difficult thing, I should say, that they're gonna have to watch out for how to report this stuff correctly.
They're gonna need to call you.
They're gonna need to call me.
Because how are they gonna know what to do?
There's so many things in that. There's another thing, there's, quote unquote, no tax on overtime. Well, there's limits to that. It's, 12,500 for individuals and 25,000 for married filing joint. So there's a cap on that. And again, it has to be the ones that qualify, because certain kinds of overtime does not qualify. It must be based on, I think, a 1933 law that established the rules for overtime. And it has to be anything over 40 hours a week is considered overtime. And so if you have an issue where somebody gets maybe double time for working on a Sunday or a holiday, well, that overtime may or may not count.
Well, that's why you need to call Anna.
Yeah.
Her phone number is 480-964-4030. That's 480-964-4030. She does free consultations. She works nationwide. You are rated with a Better Business Bureau. She does second opinions, and right now we're talking about the big, beautiful bill that has a lot of beautiful, big things that are going to be hard for you to do. If you don't know what you're doing, you need to call somebody and get a free consultation from Anna. Her phone number again, it's 480-964-4030. That's 480-964-4030. The website is ArizonaCPAs.com. What do you want to leave them with before we go to a break?
Well, before we go to break, I wanted to say that there's a new thing that's really a positive, is that there's now a deduction for car loan interest, which went away, I think, way back when, in the 80s or 90s. I don't know, I was a young accountant at the time, and yeah, I think it was in the 90s that it went away. And now they're bringing it back, and of course, again, caveats, you know, there's limitations there too. You know, if you make too much money, you can't make the deduction.
Wow.
So,
But how much money? How do you know how much money?
well, it'd be your interest up to probably a certain cap. I think I want to say like $10,000.
Well, as far as I'm concerned, when it comes to all of this, we all don't know what we're doing. What do I say all the time?
You don't know what you don't know.
That's
And
why you have to call Anna. Go ahead.
this is like, when I've taken several courses in the last few weeks about this, and I'll tell you, it's like eating a really big steak for dinner. It's a lot to digest.
So the number to call her again, it's 480-964-4030. That's 480-964-4030. She does free consultations. She works nationwide. She's rated with the Better Business Bureau. Her phone number again, it's 480-964-4030. Check her out on her website. It's ArizonaCPAs.com. Hang tight. We'll be back in just a minute. Okay,
Yeah.
we're still live in here.
Anyway, that's good. It's and like I said, it is like
Like
my
eating a steak.
brain is like gotta digest all that information. I've got pages and pages and pages of course materials from, you know, a couple different courses, and I spent three full 8-hour days in courses just last week, and
I also
it
think
was
this
just
one's
endlessly.
important right here.
oh
to
yeah,
talk about
yeah,
when we
yeah,
get back
when we
because
get
of the
back,
seniors,
yeah,
you know.
yeah, we can talk about that. So
Well, you went to this, how long was the course? Was it 2 days? Was it
3 days.
3 days?
3 days, 24 hours, and most of it was talking about this.
Wow.
I mean, it was a tax update, and they talked about, you know, what child tax credits are going up to and all these other provisions, but a lot of it rolled right around back to this big beautiful bill.
Do you, you know about taxes more than anybody. Do you feel that these are good changes, that they're coming back, these are good things for people?
I do think they're good things. I think they're gonna help a lot of people that are in the lower to middle income range. If you're in higher income, a lot of these things are phased out, so.
Two
So,
minutes.
anyway, so, it's the good and the bad, and, it's, like we talk a little bit about AI these days, well, there's the good and the bad with that too,
Yeah,
you know.
everything.
It's funny, one of my employees looked up something this morning, and she showed it to me, and I said, that's not right, you gotta look it up again and put in different words. And she says, oh, yeah, the bonus depreciation on vehicles, and, because we had a client that bought a new vehicle for her business, and so we needed to check out what she could do to, deduct that, so.
So, and it came out with the wrong answer?
Oh, yeah, it came,
Wow.
the first time it came up with the wrong answer, and I knew it was the wrong answer.
Yeah, well,
But-
because they don't know what they're dealing with.
Yeah,
when they
because,
deal with you.
the problem with the AI is sometimes it has old information, so you have to word it just so.
Very interesting. Very interesting.
So nowadays, Google may not be your friend anymore.
You know what, that's something to talk about
Yeah.
when it comes into, doing your own tax returns.
Oh, yeah, and yeah, the mistakes that people make doing their own tax returns, they think they know what they're doing, but, I've heard a lot of horror stories in some of my courses about people that came in with messed up tax returns, so.
Oh, here we go. So welcome back, everyone. We're talking with Anna Von Straussenburg, and she's the owner of Anna Von Straussenberg CPA. And we've been talking a little bit about, getting ready for tax season. We've been talking about the one big, beautiful bill. And you said, before we left for a break, that it's like eating a steak. It's hard to digest. And so if you have like a hard time in dealing with and digesting it, how do you think everybody else is gonna be dealing with it?
Yeah, I think there's so many rumors and misinformation out there. It's really important to seek out the help of somebody like me who has taken in excess of 24 hours of court class time studying all the new tax laws. I spent 3.5 days at a accounting conference, and then I just spent another 3 days last week at seminars trying to get up to speed on all the new tax law. And I have, of course, several books that are hundreds of pages long.
And she'll read them.
And I'll read them, and working on digesting it all, because it's so important for my clients and everybody. And one of the things that happens during these courses, they often tell horror stories about people who just didn't know what they didn't know, and they did their taxes wrong because they try to do it through TurboTax, and TurboTax, well, they do this question and answer thing, but if you don't really understand what the question is, you may answer it wrong, and therefore your tax return comes out wrong. And lo and behold, you've got some penalties.
And guess what?
Yeah.
If you look at them, how many times have you found money for people?
I have found money almost every single time. I found errors every single time. There was one exception. Somebody came to me, the IRS had done kind of like a letter audit for them, and they had just done their tax return and left off a bunch of income. But every other time that people have done their own, I have found them money, and sometimes really substantial amounts of money.
Her phone number is 480-964-4030. That's 480-964-4030. The big, beautiful bill has also, right here, something important for seniors, tax credit for seniors.
Yeah, there's a new, there's another rumor that's out there. Seniors won't have to pay tax on their Social Security. Well, that's not entirely true. it's actually a $6,000 deduction for seniors that they can take to reduce their income taxes, and it would, in most cases, offset their tax on their Social Security. But if you make too much money, that's one of those things where if you make over 150,000 as a couple, you don't qualify for this.
There's always a caveat, and if you don't know what you don't know, the best thing is to call somebody who can help you, like Anna. It's a free consultation. It really makes sense, especially now. And getting ready for tax season is now, so have a conversation with her now before you're scrambling, because that's another story in itself. 480-964-4030. Old things that are going away.
Well, one of the big things that's going away is the tax on the credit for electric vehicles. That is a really big thing.
That's a big thing for a lot of people.
They just decided to cut it off, so no more.
No more on that.
Yeah.
Now, there's some old things that are coming back.
Well, yeah, they had been phasing out the bonus depreciation over the last few years. Well, that has come back to 100%, and also the Section 179, which is similar to bonus depreciation, where you can write off an entire asset. That has come back at 100% as well on most things. But again, there's so many different caveats, like what kind of assets qualify, and many assets do qualify, but not everything does. And they have raised the spending limit on Section 179 that most people never will hit that.
So
it's only for big companies where they're maybe spending $400,000 on equipment. Well, they may have a reduction at some point, but the spending limits are very high now.
Now, you also had a story of someone that thought they could pay their taxes like later instead of earlier.
Yeah, well, a neighbor came up to me and he said, "Hey, I heard that you can pay your 2024 taxes, you can extend it all the way to October 2026.
Wow. I don't know what you're drinking.
I don't know where he heard that. Maybe he was talking to a buddy of his and the guy was on an installment plan or something else. There are ways you can do it legally, but no, there's no new law that pushed it out that far. But there are oftentimes, when there's disasters in a federally, and now they're allowing some state declared disaster areas being subject to some time extensions. They do give people extra time to do their tax returns, and sometimes extra time to pay.
But be careful.
And be careful. And when you have a disaster loss, there's a lot of little caveats again, little things that you must take into account when deducting the loss. There's a cap of a certain amount of dollars that you have to deduct off, and a certain percentage of your income before you can even take it. And then you have to decide, you have to ask the question, did insurance pay for some of this? Because if you got reimbursement, you have to reduce your loss by that. So there's many, many steps you have to take a loss.
Well, let me just say this, it sounds to me like everything is becoming a little bit harder to do, especially harder to do on your own. I know it sounds great to go and do it up with TurboTax, but if you have a very simple return, okay, maybe, but really you have to be careful and make sure that you know what you're doing.
Yes, and I'm very thankful for software, because a lot of these things where there's a cap, there's a phase out. So maybe it'll start at $130,000 and phase out gradually to $150,000.
Mm-hmm.
So where you're taking a percentage of your deduction that you might get. And so, unless you've been trained in it, how you're going to know that your tax return's right? You're just having to put all your faith in the software. And by the way, I do use really good software, but I review the returns to make sure what the software is spitting out is correct, because it's not all 100%.
And we just were talking just a little bit ago about how you knew better than AI that something that they asked was wrong.
Yeah.
So that's not right. So if AI is wrong, let me tell you, a lot of people are going to be using that and trying to get their answers. And if you don't know what you don't know, we
Yeah.
say it all the time. Go
Oh,
ahead.
yeah, and it's funny because somebody asked me one time, well, are you afraid you're gonna lose your job because of AI? And I said, absolutely not, because it takes a human being to look at the data that the computer spits out and check it for reasonableness.
Her phone number, it's 480-964-4030. That's 480-964-4030. She does free consultations. She works nationwide. She does second opinions. She's rated with the Better Business Bureau. And the best thing to do is to call her, check her out on her website. It is Arizona CPAs with an S. So ArizonaCPAs.com. Now, I also have to say this, we have 2 minutes here, is that you also like to work with people who have real estate.
Oh, yes, I have several clients that have rental real estate, and I just find it very interesting. I have some that are in both commercial real estate and residential real estate, and of course, there's different rules for all of that too.
Mm-hmm.
So that's something I have really enjoyed working with. My dad owned rental properties, so I kind of learned it growing up.
The other thing is that if you own a business, many times she actually comes in to learn your business so she understands it. How many people do that?
Yeah, I really do that because it really helps me to make better suggestions for that business if I know more about them, and learn about what it is that drives them, and how they're accounting for things. And I had a client that had their they sell turf. Well, it's like carpet where you cut off a piece and there's always an end roll. And we discovered that they weren't properly accounting for all of their losses that they had at the end of each piece. So we had to help them get set up on a new software that worked with their QuickBooks.
And help them make money.
And they made money, and the guy sold it for $12 million.
Let me tell you, she does that a lot for people. She wants you to know your numbers. She wants you to understand them. And that's what she does with each and every one of her clients. Her phone number, again, it's 480-964-4030. That's 480-964-4030. She does free consultations. She's rated with the Better Business Bureau. She works nationwide. She does second opinions. Check her out. It's Arizona CPAs with an